We are once again on the precipice of calamity. Let us see what this turn brings us. We pick up turn 2 at the diplomacy phase, and there are a few public announcements. To begin, from Great Britain. London Times. Troubling times. Is Britain prepared? Has Spotty done a deal with the devil? Moving next to France. France is most pleased to welcome the newest member of the alliance of the righteous, the right, and just, the Ottoman Empire. It is France's hope that this three-part treaty will bring about stability and protection for its members. Additionally, France is most concerned with England's newest territorial acquisition, the Austrian Netherlands. England owning a territory directly adjacent to France triggers an unacceptable level of risk to France's sovereignty. As such, France is left with its only option of securing its safety by military means. Therefore, a state of war now exists between France and England. France will continue to be at a state of war until England ceases its aggressive demeanor or France's safety is secured. We also have a note from Russia. The Tsarina wishes the nations returning to Mother Russia peace and prosperity. Those wishing to attack the motherland will be met with the might of our enemies. May peace reign, but to maintain that peace, we are ready for war. And finally, Spain gives us a message. The liberation of Ireland is at hand. Viva España. Following diplomacy, we now go to naval movement, starting with England. England moves the 3 battle fleets that are located in port to the Eastern Atlantic Ocean. Turning to France, to start, the 5 SP in Savoy are broken up. 1 SP remains in Savoy, while the remaining 4 board the transport fleets located in the Med. Additionally, the heavy fleet in port moves into the Med. And finally, all the fleets in the Mediterranean, including the Marines and the SPs and transport fleets, are all moved into the Eastern Atlantic Ocean. In the Caribbean, 1 Spanish regular SP on Cuba moves into the Caribbean Sea along with the transport fleet located in the port there. The medium battle fleet in the Indian Ocean moves from the Indian Ocean to the Southern Atlantic Sea Zone. In Spain, the transport fleet in port moves from port into the Med and then transitions to the Eastern Atlantic Sea Zone. The 8 SP in Portugal is split up. 5 SP remaining in Portugal, 3 SP boarding the transport fleet in the Eastern Atlantic Sea Zone. And finally, the 2 heavy fleets in port leave port and move into the Eastern Atlantic Sea Zone. We have completed naval movement, and now we look to any naval combat. Spain and France are in the same sea zone as England, and Spain and France have orders to directly attack England. England chooses to withdraw. England withdraws their fleet into the North Sea. As this is not a winter turn, we don't have to worry about any hurricane phase. Then we move on to land movement. Starting with Austria, Austria moves 4 SP from the Netherlands into the Palatinate. The 9 SP in Poland get split into 6 and 3, and the 3 SP move into Galicia. In Venetia, the 10 SP get split into 3 different groups. 1 SP remains in Venetia, 6 SP move from Venetia into Modena, and 3 SP move from Venetia to Milan, bringing the current total in Milan to 4. Moving on to British Land Movement. In Westphalia, 8 SP moved from Westphalia to Hesse, leaving 1 in Westphalia. Next is France's land movement. From the Eastern Atlantic, France is moving 3 regular SP plus the Marines into Ireland and 1 regular SP into northern France, bringing the SP total there to 5. In India, 9 SP moved from the Maharatan states to march into Bengal. Moving on to Prussian land movement, 15 SP advance into Silesia from Prussia. Moving on to Russian land movement, from northern central Russia to Courland, Russia moves 3 SP and moves 2 SP from northern Russia into Livonia. From northern Ukraine, Russia moves 3 SP into Podolia, and from southern Ukraine, 2 SP into Bukovina. Turkey is moving 6 SP from Moldavia into Bukovina, and they're moving the 6 SP and the 2 from Albania and the 2 SP from Montenegro into Bosnia, bringing their total there to 8. They're moving 1 SP from Macedonia into Albania, moving 1 SP from Serbia into Montenegro. They're moving 1 SP from Rumelia into Macedonia, bringing the total there to 2. Moving 1 SP from Yeresan to Crimea, bringing the total there to 3. And from both Bessarabia and Dobruja, each moving 1 SP into Moldavia, bringing the total there to 2. Moving on to Spanish movement. From the Eastern Atlantic, 3 SP are disembarking off the transport fleet into Ireland. 2 SP move from Spain into southern France. And in the Caribbean, the 1 regular SP and the Marines move from the Caribbean Sea and invade Jamaica. Moving on to Sweden movement, moving 4 SP from Norway into Sweden, bringing the total there to 11. At the completion of land movement, we now move to the build phase. Austria spends 25 gold to build 5 SP in Austria, bringing the total there to 6. England Build, they spent 27 gold to build 3 heavy battle fleets in England and the Eastern Atlantic port. France spends 15 gold to build 3 SP in northern France, bringing the total there to 8. And an additional 9 to build a heavy fleet in the Eastern Atlantic port of southern France. Prussia spends 15 gold to build 3 SP in Prussia, bringing the total there to 6. And an additional 5 gold to build an additional SP in East Prussia, bringing the total there to 5. Spain spends a total of 30 gold to build 2 heavy battle fleets and 2 medium fleets in the Eastern Atlantic port of Spain. Sweden spends 5 gold to build 1 SP in Sweden, bringing the total to 12. And I did forget Russia. Russia spends 25 gold. 5 gold, and Kyiv spent to build 1 SP, bringing the total to 6, plus 20 SP to build a small fortress. And finally, for Turkey and the territory of Wallachia, they spent 10 gold to purchase 2 SP, giving a total there of 4. At the end of the build phase, we now move into the retreat before combat phase. There is no retreat before combat, so we'll move into the combat phase. There are a number of non-player combat battles as well as a handful of player combat battles. So we'll do the non-player combat battles first. All right, looking at the Battle of Palatinate to begin with. Austria's in the territory with a 4-to-1 advantage. It gives them a +3 to the die roll. 3 with a result of 6 means the attacker wins. Austria takes the Palatinate. They do not gain or lose anything. Next, we have Galicia. Austria's moving in with 3, gives them a 3-to-1, which results in a +2 to the die roll. So if an attacker wins, they gain +1 SP, resulting in a total of 4 SP in Galicia. Austria has a 6-1 advantage in Modena, giving them a +5 to the die roll. Total of 9 means the attacker wins. They gain SP equal to the territory value, in this case is 1, resulting in 7 SP garrisoning Modena. Moving on to Hesse. It moved in with 8. That gives them a 4-1 advantage. It's a +3 to their die roll. The attacker wins. No change in territory or SP. In Ireland, France and Spain are jointly invading Ireland. They have a 7-1 advantage, which would normally give them a +6, but because it's also an amphibious invasion, it's a -1 of the die roll. So the total is a +5. That's a 9. With the bonus SP, France goes up to 4. In Courland, Russia has a 3-1. It gives them a +2 to the die roll. 7 results in a victory with a +1 SP, giving the Russians 4 SP in Courland. In Livonia, it's 2-1, so they just get a +1 on the die roll. 6 results in the capture of the territory, no change in SP. In Bukovina, there is not a battle between Russia and Turkey. In fact, Turkey is allowing Russia to peaceably enter the territory, while Turkey is capturing the territory of Bukovina. So Turkey has a 6-1 advantage, giving them a +5 to the die roll. Result of 9 means Turkey wins with a +1 to their SP. Turkey garrisons Bukovina with 7 SP. Moving on to player battles, in Jamaica, we had 1 regular SP and 1 Spanish Marine SP invading Jamaica. Jamaica also raised 1 militia SP to defend. In the course of the battle, Spain won, with their Marines becoming casualties. The British militia became a casualty, as well as their colonial SP becoming a casualty. In the end, Jamaica is controlled by Spain, with 1 regular SP. Need to go back real quick. Forgot Russia is attacking Podolia, 3-1, so they get a +2 to their die roll, resulting in a 6. Russia wins, no change in SP. All right, in Bengal, France invaded with 9 colonial SP. They were able to raise a native ally. The British defending with 4 colonial SP. They also had 2 militia present, and they were able to raise 3 native allies to help defend the territory. Through the course of the battle, the British lost 40 casting casualties, and the French lost 25. Of those casualties, of all total casualties, the British ended up losing 3 colonial SP, and the French lost 2 colonial SP. France does capture the territory, and because the British don't have any order to retreat to, 1 colonial SP becomes prisoner of war. All right, in Silesia, Prussia is attacking with 15 SP. They also bring their guard cavalry and guard infantry. Frederick is present, as well as a sub-general. Austria has 5 SP. They raise 3 militia SP, and they also have a sub-general present. Through the course of the battle, Austrians lose 30 casualties in total, but most of those were against the militia SP, so they only ended up losing 1 SP from the actual regulars, leaving them with 4 SP at the end of the battle. For their effort in capturing the territory, Prussia loses 2 SP, leaving them with 13 SP in the territory. That actually completes all of the combat phase. Next we have retreat after combat. There is no retreating in Jamaica, as there is nothing left to retreat. There is no retreating in Bengal, because there's nowhere for this colonial SP to retreat to, it becomes a French prisoner of war. So we'll go ahead, just for representative purposes, we will move that SP over to France just as a marker. It's not going to actually represent anything. In Ireland, the French Marines move back to the battle fleet, and because there are 4 French SP and 3 Spanish SP, the transport fleets that dropped them off have been flipped over and are now providing supply to those troops in Ireland. So they will not be available to transport anything else. Or if they do, then the troops in Ireland will be considered out of supply. They would not be able to advance. In Silesia, the Austrians retreat into Austria. During the retreat fire, the Prussians did not get any natural sixes in their retreat fire, so the Austrians were able to get away, leaving the Austrians with 10 SP in Austria. With the retreat after combat phase complete, now we'll move to the supply control phase to adjust the victory points and also take into account what territories are under control, under supply, etc. Through the gains of Palatinate, Galicia, Modena, but the subtraction of Silesia, Austrian territory control moves to 24. England, with the loss of Jamaica and Bengal, but the gaining of Hesse, their current territory value is 28. France, with the gains in Bengal and Ireland, has a current territory count of 32. Prussia has a current territory count of 17. Russia has a current territory count of 18. Spain has a current territory count of 25. Sweden maintains a territory count of 7. And Turkey increases their territorial count to 17. That concludes turn 2. We now move to turn 3. Random events for turn 3. Looking at the results, Pomerania gets unrest. The GP are halved. No SP may be raised that turn. So Pomerania will have -1 GP. Finland has a revolt. And what that means is Finland will not be raising any revenue, and you can't purchase any SP there. And the revolt continues each turn until the occupying SP exceeds the territory value. So the Finland value is 2. So for each turn that the Finland SP is not 3 or more, the revolt will continue. So in total, Sweden has a -3 to their gold collection this turn due to random events. And in Podolia, they have a successful recruitment, bringing the Russian SP there to 5. Next, we will do the off-board front allocation table for Turkey to determine how much gold they're spending on the regions of the map not represented. Turkey spends 5 gold pieces on other areas of the world not represented by the game map. Next, we will determine if the Jacobites rebel against England. The Jacobites do not rebel. And because it is a winter turn on turn 3, there is no tropical disease check. Finally, we move to revenue collection phase. After all random events and determining supply, Austria collects 24 gold, England collects 28, France collects 32, Prussia collects 17. Russia collects 18. Spain collects 25. Sweden collects 7. And Turkey collects 17. Additionally, as we move into the diplomacy phase of Turn 3, news reports from Spain indicate that a galleon fleet heavily laden with gold bullion has arrived in port, granting the Spanish an additional 20 gold pieces available to their treasury. With that, that brings the end of campaign Turn 2 and the beginning of campaign Turn 3 to a close. One important reminder, Turn 3 is a winter turn. While you can still spend money as far as influencing other players or as part of treaties and such, you cannot spend money to build SP, build fleets, build fortresses, or any of that sort of thing in Turn 3. So keep that in mind as you make your moves for this turn. And with that, that's the end of the video. We'll see you on the next one. I forgot to do the non-player battle in Bosnia real quick. They are 4-1. They get a +3 to their die roll. 6 becomes a 9. They will win and gain 2 SP in Bosnia, leaving Turkey with 10 SP in Bosnia. So Turkey is actually sitting with 19 points in territory assets.